Question. Hi Kim, I've been following your teachings with the Ascended Masters for about 7 years. I have worked with a lot of your books, including the 7 Rays, and finishing working through them again. I may have to do it again. I've also worked through the Spiritual Traumas book and plan to do it again. Anyhow, there are 2 separate things I want to ask you. For one, I've always had a very deep, polyvagal, hyperadrenaline response in social settings and in public speaking. This includes almost like a panic attack, cannot catch my breath. It stops me from communicating at the heart level for sure. I presume this was caused by my birth trauma or some serious past life trauma. I know a lot of people that have this as well. Even when I know I'm not really in a threatening environment, it comes out. Since the response feels hyperphysical, it feels like part of my aura has a hole in my solar plexus, or I have soul fragmentation, as I have read on your website. You have mentioned that you were tortured in a past life in some of the question and answers on your website. Can you talk about this or what you have really done to heal it? Did you ever have a response as I have described? Are there any additional therapies that you know of that might assist with the Spiritual Traumas book? Do you know anything about somatic experiencing therapy and releasing trapped trauma in the physical body, or if it would help? I don't know if there's actually anything you can say about this, as I know it will just take work to go through the trauma book a lot and step back from the cells we created. Perhaps it will get easier the more we let go of other stuff and the more we do it. Well, I just gave another answer about a person who also had social anxiety. So I'll link to that in the description. But it seems that the person asking this question has already worked with the concept that we can receive very severe traumas in the past life. I have a whole playlist where I talk about avatar psychology and how many spiritual people came to Earth to help bring the Earth forward, and we were very severely attacked by the fallen beings and ignored by other people or even ostracized by other people. So many of us were exposed to such a severe trauma that we created these subconscious selves. One of them, the original one, is called the primal self, and we really we have been dealing with it ever since because it colors the way we look at ourselves here on Earth. And so it is a matter of identifying that. And that is what this book, Healing Your Spiritual Traumas, really is all about. So yes, you can certainly work with it again. But I would say that if it's that severe and you have already gone through the book, I think it's a really good idea to consider various forms of therapy. Because it's one thing to work through something on your own, but it's very helpful to have another person who can observe you and listen to what you're saying and maybe see something that you can't see yourself and can tell you about it. See, the thing is, the tools that the Ascended Masters have given us, like the book Healing Your Spiritual Traumas, the idea is really that you, ideally speaking, you should get some intuitive connection to the Ascended Masters, so you can get some insights from the Masters that are beyond what you can see yourself. Because we could say it that the essential problem with psychology, with working on our own psychology, is we are inside the bubble of our psychology. And from the inside there are certain things that are very difficult to see. And now I have talked about a lot how the core of our being is the conscious you, and you can actually step outside. You can cultivate the ability to step outside yourself and look at yourself from the outside. You can also create an intuitive connection to the Ascended Masters so they can give you feedback from the outside, so you can see your psychology. But still, I see in myself, I see in many other people that even after we've been on a spiritual path for a while, there can still be certain things we just don't see ourselves because they're so deeply ingrained. We think it's part of our personality. We think it's the only way to be or the natural way to be. We think this is who we are, that we just can't see it. And over time, yes, you can work with the Ascended Masters, you can come to see it. But what I have found myself is it's very, very helpful to get feedback from other people. And that's why I have done various forms of therapy. And but even just dealing with other people right? Having other people, listening to what other people are telling you about yourself can give you feedback on your psychology that you can't see from the inside. It's not always good advice, because other people may be looking at your psychology through the filter of their psychology, so it's not unbiased. But still, as the master say, if the messenger be an ant, heed him. But therapy is very valuable, because the therapist might be able to see something you can't see and tell it to you physically, so that it's not as easy to ignore. I don't know the particular kind of therapy that's mentioned here. Somatic experiencing therapy. I don't know it. I have used EMDR therapy, which was effective. I've also used hypnotherapy, which was also effective for getting in contact with these past traumas. But it's very possible that this also works. So again, you have to be willing to experiment a little bit, and approach a form of therapy with a neutral state of mind and just see what it does for you. Now, in terms of this, obviously there can be many forms of social trauma that people can have. But a very common one is this public speaking. Not necessarily just public speaking, but being in front of a group of people. And I can't say that I haven't dealt with it, but it's never been a major problem for me. Although I, of course, can recognize this, that you can make a fool of yourself in front of a group of people, which I've done any number of times, but not as strong as it's described here. So what I would say here is that I really think this relates to that the cosmic birth trauma, you coming to Earth, and you were probably in one of your first embodiments here in a situation where possibly the fallen beings set you up so that you felt you could do something good for a group of people in a society by having a public position. And then they lured you into giving some kind of speech, or doing some kind of ceremony or event in front of a large group of people, and then they manipulated it so that it failed. And you felt like you had completely failed, and the experience that I can recognize in myself is you can have this feeling like you completely failed your purpose for coming to Earth. Like it was pointless to come here, because it's like suddenly you realize that the way people are, that they are not willing to listen to you. What can you do? How can you accomplish anything on Earth? I can certainly recognize that feeling. I think many avatars have that feeling. And this then created this subconscious self, this primal self, where you really feel it was pointless to come to Earth. But if you are willing to work with this, and this will take some work to uncover it, but if you are willing to work with it, you will see that it was a decision you made, because what brought you to Earth was you had a certain vision of what you wanted to accomplish here. And it's true that that vision can't be fulfilled. I had to recognize that myself. I mean, in this lifetime, I came in contact with what brought me to Earth, and I recognized it was an impossible mission I had set myself on. But that was because I actually had an unrealistic expectation or an unrealistic view before I came to Earth as an avatar. As an avatar, when you come to Earth, you are more advanced than most people on Earth, but you are not ascended, so you don't have the full view. So you have a limited view. That was what caused you to volunteer to come to Earth. And I think probably all avatars, we set ourselves up to fail because we had an impossible expectation of what we can do here. For example, I think many avatars will feel, we came here because we saw people on Earth are suffering. We wanted to help them be free of suffering. We come down here, we try to tell them how to be free of suffering, and we realize they don't want to listen to us. It's like, don't they want to be free of suffering? And the reality is that for many people who are trapped in duality, no, they don't. Not at this point. They haven't had enough of it. So I had to really work deeply with myself to look at my motivation for coming to Earth. In other words, before I received the birth trauma. Look at my motivation for coming, that I thought I could do something, but what I thought I had to do involved the free will of other people, and therefore it couldn't be done. So I had to really work with this enigma of free will and come to the point where I could let go of the motivation I had at the conscious level, and therefore tie into the fact that there was actually a much deeper reason for me coming to Earth, and that I have done something valuable on Earth by being here, by being an embodiment, by raising my consciousness and therefore raising the collective consciousness, and also demonstrating there's an alternative. So in other words, I didn't come here to change other people. I just came here to demonstrate there's an alternative to their state of consciousness. And that may seem like a subtle difference, but it's actually a very fundamental difference in approach. And it's like once you accept that you are just here to demonstrate the alternative, you can't fail because you have demonstrated that. And you can certainly shift your consciousness, heal your trauma, so you can demonstrate it for the rest of your lifetime. But even if you don't do anything on the outer, you have over many lifetimes been part of raising the collective consciousness. So you can't really fail in your mission when you look at it that way. But as long as you are looking at it that you have to achieve outer results that involves basically forcing the free will of other people, then you can fail and you will fail. Because people are just people, and they will do whatever they do until they've had enough of it and want to do something else. And it really, for me, what resolved this was the whole free will thing. Now it talks about here being tortured in past lives. I think many of us have been tortured in past lives, and the main effect of torture is what is also described here. Since the response feels hyperphysical, it feels like part of my aura has a hole in my solar plexus, or I have soul fragmentation. And that can also be a very common effect of being tortured, but it can also be caused by other traumas. But it is common as a result of physical torture, where you have no way to escape it, and you have no way to defend yourself. So it's really a very insidious thing to do. Probably the fastest way to make very severe karma is to torture other people, but that's besides the point. So if you sense this, yes, you need to do some work to heal your aura. And again, various kinds of therapy. There are therapies for soul retrieval, they're called. I have made some use of them, but really it's again, even working with the book Healing Your Spiritual Traumas will lead to soul retrieval. But with the hole in the aura, I think you really need to give some decrees and invocations to the Ascended Masters, because there are no doubt dark forces that are tying into your emotional body through that hole in the aura. When I was very new on the spiritual path many years ago, I was reading a book, an Ascended Master book, about the human aura, incidentally, and I suddenly got this intuitive sense that my solar plexus was spinning the wrong way. And then as I tried to tune into this, I felt like there was a hand, it wasn't a physical hand, but I felt like there was a hand that reached down from an Ascended Master called Kuthumi, and there was like a handle on this disc on my solar plexus chakra. And it gripped the handle and slowed it down until it stood still, and then it started spinning the other way. So the reason I'm describing this experience is you can certainly ask the Ascended Masters to heal your solar plexus chakra and to also help it spin in the right direction. And the same goes for other chakras as well, of course, if you have a sense that there's another chakra. Often it will be, if in torture, I think it will be the solar plexus chakra, because it is the one we react to. It corresponds to the sixth way of peace. And of course, when you're tortured, it's very difficult to be at peace at the same time. So So you can certainly try and tune in to the masters of the sixth way, especially Nada. You could use the sixth book in the series of The Path to Self-Mastery, which is Nada's book, and give some of these invocations and ask her to work with you on it. There's also in the book, what's it called now? The Song of Life, Healing Matrix. There's also an invocation and decree to Nada that you might consider there for the solar plexus. So I understand, from the question that this is a very deep trauma. But as I've said before, I have certainly gone through some very deep traumas myself that the masters have helped me heal. And I've seen many other people also go through some deep traumas. So I do think it's something you can heal, you can overcome. But it will, of course, require an effort. But since the person is demonstrating that you're willing to make the effort, then I think it really can be done. But as I said, if you have worked with the Ascended Masters' teachings and tools, and you still haven't gotten the result you're looking for, try various forms of therapy. Now, I'm not saying stop with the masters, working with the masters, but try forms of therapy also to get that perspective from the outside.